Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be vibe coding with the newly released Opus 4.6 and using a new feature in Claude Code called Agent Teams. Okay, so right here, I'm using BridgeSpace, and as you can see, I have 6 Claude Opus 4.6 terminals opened up in BridgeSpace. This is actually an ADE product that we are working on right now. But before we dive right into the video, I have a like goal of 200 likes on this video. So if you haven't already liked and subscribed, make sure you do so. BridgeMind is also the fastest growing vibe coding community on the internet right now. So if you haven't already joined our Discord community, make sure you check the Discord link in the description down below and join the Discord. We're about to pass 5,000 members in the Discord. So with that being said, let's now dive right into the video. Okay, the first thing that I want to cover is a little bit of the statistics, the leaderboards, and the benchmarks for Claude Opus 4.6. So over here on OpenRouter, you can see that the biggest difference in Claude Opus 4.6 obviously is the context window. You have 1 million in context with this model, which is the first Opus model that actually has 1 million in context. The previous Opus models were around 200,000. So if you go back to Opus 4.5, you're going to see 200,000. And if you go back to Opus 4.1, you're going to see, 200,000. So they were able to keep it the same price, but they increased the context window by 5x. So one thing to note in this is that if you are using Claude Opus 4.6 and Claude Code, this is actually not yet accessible to you. This is in beta. So if you're using it via Claude Code, you do not yet have access to the 1 million context window. It's still at 200,000, but with Cursor or any product that's integrating with Opus 4.6 via the API, you're going to have access to this 1 million context window. But let's actually see what they say. So the Opus 4.6 is Anthropic's strongest model for coding in long-running professional tasks. It is built for agents that operate across entire workflows rather than single prompts, making it especially effective for large code bases, complex refactors, and multi-step debugging that unfolds over time. So that's a lot of yapping, but let's go check the artificial analysis leaderboard, because this is really interesting, because I was taking a look at this, and if you look at the artificial analysis intelligence index, you'll note that Opus 4.6 now is at the top of this leaderboard. So it beats out GPT 5.2 extra high. So that's 51. Opus 4.6 is 53 on this leaderboard. You can see that Opus 4.5 is at 50. So they were able to get a 3-point bump here. But one thing that I want to draw your attention to is the coding index. So look at this. So we have 48 and 48. And this is one of the biggest issues that I actually saw with this release. It's in the benchmarks here. So Opus 4.5 right here, Opus 4.6 right here. And what I want to draw your attention to is the SWE-bench verified benchmark was 80.8%. So that's one thing that I was not necessarily disappointed by, but I was hoping that we would see like 83% on this benchmark. This is the #1 benchmark for coding that I take a look at. So they were able to improve like the terminal bench for coding, which is important by quite a bit, actually, by over 5%. So that's nice. But I was looking at this one here and I was like, oh man, that kind of stinks, because, you know, the SWE-bench verified, that's where, hey, if we see a big jump in that benchmark performance, that's when we're going to see a big jump in performance for us when we're actually using it in practice vibe coding. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. Another important one to look at here is the speed. So Opus 4.6 here, you can see, I can't highlight this, but this is Opus 4.6. You can see it's at 73 tokens per second, and then Opus 4.5 is at 88. So we saw a little bit of a decrease in tokens per second. Now, this does fluctuate over time, so this isn't like set in stone, but tokens per second did go down a little bit, which is a little bit discouraging, but not too bad. But for intelligence and speed, really what we're seeing is that on some of these other benchmarks, Opus 4.6 was able to see a really big improvement. Like one of those is definitely like this one here, novel problem solving, the ARC AGI 2 leaderboard. This saw a big jump of 30%. So that's huge. Also, office tasks saw a big jump. Financial tasks saw a 5% jump. Multidisciplinary reasoning on humanities last exam saw a big jump as well. Agentic search saw a big jump. So, you know, a lot of these saw a big jump. Look at this. Agentic tool use also saw a jump. Agentic computer use saw a big jump. But the biggest disappointing thing in this in the benchmarks was definitely agentic coding. I was surprised to see this not only not improve, but also take a little bit of a step back. So discouraging there, but in all, I think that it is going to be a smarter model across the board, maybe just not specifically on the coding index. The next thing that I'd like to cover about this new model is a little bit less about the model as specifically, but more so about the update that Anthropic gave to Claude Code and this model. So if you now go to models, I want to highlight something here. So with Opus 4.6, you now have the capability to adjust the effort. So if we kind of just zoom in here, actually let's launch another workspace here, do a Control T. Let's just do a single, and then we'll launch one Claude Code instance in this. But let's just launch a new Claude Code instance. And this is bridge space, which is very useful. But if we are in Opus 4.6, right, and let's do model, okay? And what you're gonna see is that the default recommended model is now Opus 4.6. And with this model, you do not have this ability with Haiku or Sonnet. So this is specific to Opus 4.6, but you can now adjust the effort. Do you see how it says medium effort here? So all I have to do to adjust this is I can set it to high effort, I can set it to medium effort, or I can set it to low effort. So this is similar to Codex, where, hey, with Codex, they literally offer it as like different models, right? Like Codex is offering Codex GPT 5.3, extra high or medium or high, so they have 4 different models. So this is kind of Anthropic's approach to this, which is actually much better. Rather than offering like a specific model, they just allow you to adjust the effort in Claude Code, which I like. So that's definitely one thing to note, that when you are setting your model inside Claude Code, make sure you check out the effort level. That's going to be very nice to be able to set it at a specific effort level. If you're working on maybe an easier task, you can set it to a lower effort, so you use less tokens. And then if it's a little bit more complex, you can set it to high effort, and it's going to think longer and do a better job. But that is an important thing to know about this model, is that this is a new capability of Opus 4.6 inside of Claude Code. The last thing I want to do before we actually get our hands dirty and start vibe coding with Opus 4.6, I want to show you probably the most important thing that actually got released yesterday. So it's interesting. Like if we go back to the benchmarks, I'm not going to hype this stuff up. I think that of a lot of people that watch this channel and watch BridgeMind and are in the BridgeMind community know that I don't really perceive myself as a content creator. I'm not going to hype up models or hype things up that shouldn't be hyped up. So I want to draw your guys' attention to one last thing before we go over agent teams. Look at the jump between Claude Opus 4.1 and Claude Opus 4.5 on the coding index. We literally saw a jump of 11 points on this coding index. And that's why so many people, once we got Opus 4.5, they were like, this is magic, right? Because we saw such an improvement on the Sweetbench Verified benchmark, and the coding capability saw a huge jump. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, it's like, hey, look at this. It's at 48. We did not get a substantial improvement in the coding capabilities from 4.5 to 4.6. Now, there are going to be a couple other things that are better about the model, but definitely one thing to note is that this is not going to change a whole lot in terms of its coding capabilities when you look at the benchmarks, because the benchmarks do tell a lot about a model. And I can see this right now. It's like, hey, this is not going to be a model that was that jump from Opus 4.1 to Opus 4.5. But with that being said, I want to now highlight one of the biggest things that got released yesterday that may have been a little bit overlooked by a lot of people. And we were using this on stream yesterday, and it's called Agent Teams. And Agent Teams is a new experimental feature from Anthropic that you can use inside of Claude Code. And you guys can go, I'm gonna drop this link in the description, so if you guys want to take a look at it and kind of read through it yourself. But I'm going to cover pretty much the basics that you guys should know, and I'm actually going to draw how this works up on the whiteboard, okay? So subagents, as you guys know, subagents has been a very big thing. So I'm just going to use Bridge Voice and give Claude Code a quick prompt here. I want you to launch 5 subagents to do an in-depth review of the BridgeMind UI and identify any inconsistencies in the theme and styling on different pages on the website. So we're going to launch some subagents right now, okay? So we're going to drop in BridgeMind UI, and let's just drop this in with Opus 4.6 and give it that prompt, right? So what this is going to be doing is this is going to be launching what's called subagents. So we've had subagents for a while now, and what actually are subagents? Well, you can see that right here. they have their own context window, and the results are returned to the caller. They report back to the main agent. Main agent manages all the work and focus tasks where only the result matters, and then the token cost is going to be lower when compared with agent teams. But the important thing to understand is the difference between these two things, right? So you have agent teams and you have sub-agents. So what agent teams are, and I'm just going to highlight this on the whiteboard, is sub-agents. You had a main agent here that right now this is going to give it to 5 sub-agents, right? So this is what sub-agents are, okay? So sub-agents, you have a main agent, and the sub-agents only communicate back to the main agent, okay? So these are all communicating with each other, okay? This is how sub-agents work. Sub-agents, okay? This is how they work. The sub-agents communicate with the main agent, and that's how they work. You can see it's launching these sub-agents, and these sub-agents are now working, okay? You can see that they're reviewing product page styling, reviewing off-page styling. So these are reviewing different things, right? But now what this new agent teams feature is this is actually like a very big deal. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in some of the nuances of it, but how agent teams work is instead of, let's say you had sub-agents, now, instead of that being the approach, you basically have something that looks like this, okay? So let's say that you have your main agent here, okay? And you now have 5 agents, right? And previously, you only had them communicating with that main agent, but now these sub-agents actually are able to send messages to one another. Okay, so the difference here is that these sub-agents can now all communicate as a team because they can now communicate from agent to agent here rather than only being able to communicate to the main agent. So that's the difference with agent teams, and I'm actually going to show you guys how to set this up, and I'm going to show you a couple examples that I actually implemented yesterday on stream and a couple of my thoughts with agent teams. Now, I'm going to drop this link in the description below, and the best way to be able to set this up is to literally just drop the link into Claude Code and ask it, would you confirm that this is set up and enabled with my Claude Code? If it isn't, make sure you enable it. Just give it that prompt. I already have mine enabled, so this isn't going to do anything for me. I already have it enabled. But let's now go over to this agent down here, and what we're going to do is how many teams are configured. Would you list out the teams that are associated with my Claude Code? So we're gonna ask it what it's a Claude Code, but we're gonna ask it what teams we actually configured, because basically what I was doing yesterday is I was setting up multiple agent teams, and you can see here I have an API Security Review team, and then I also have a Code Quality Fix team. So I have these teams here, and let's actually, can I drag this? Okay, I don't have that configured yet. So with this, you can see that these teams, for example, Code Quality Fix. So the purpose of this team is to fix all bugs and clean up AI slop across the BridgeMind mono repo. So there's a team lead, and that's the team lead. That's this here. So rather than it just being a main agent that all the sub-agents talk to, now you have a team lead, and that's what it looks like. So the team lead, we have a UI fixer. So this is a front-end bug fixer. We have an admin fixer, the admin panel bug fixer. So it's 3 members in total, and they both are, 3 members in total. Both workers are general purpose agents, right? So these agents are working together as a team, and then we also have an API security review. And with that team, you can see that I have a team lead, an off-deep auditor, a BizLogic auditor, an exposure auditor, and a verify auditor, okay? So we have these teams, and I'm going to show you what it looks like to actually run one of these, okay? So we're going to use the API Security Review 2 team, okay? I want you to enable the API, and hold on, I'm not going to say enable. I'm just going to say I want to work with the API Security Review team, and I want this team to do an in-depth review of the BridgeMind API and do an audit of our API security. Any findings that the team finds should be outputted and inputted into a README file of the findings with detailed descriptions of each finding so that we can complete the task and make sure that the API is secure. Okay, so we're going to drop this in, right? And what you guys are going to see is you're going to see Opus 4.6 be able to work as a team. So it says, I'll set up a security audit team to thoroughly review the BridgeMind API. Let me create the team and organize the work, okay? So actually what it did here, hold on. Did it just create a new team? Hold on, did it not actually? Let me create the team. Okay, I actually don't think that that did that correctly. And this is one thing that to note is that Anthropic did say that there was going to be some issues. Hold on, I actually want to stop this because it looked like it was creating a creating a new team. It said I'll set up a security audit team to that's not what I wanted it to do. I want to let's prompt this. Let's now prompt this one because this one knows what teams we have. So maybe you have to like do really well with prompting. I want you to use this team. So let's go back over here and let's actually make sure that we drop in and so that it knows like, hey, use this team. That may be something that you need to do just while this is like a beta feature. It's like an experimental feature. So it had a hard time kind of like enacting this, right? But let's go over here and let's check what did this one actually find here. So in here, this was the one that was it was launching sub-agents, right? So it's asking, want me to start fixing any of these issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the model and I'm going to change it to low effort, because UI issues aren't like super complex. They don't need high effort and high thinking. Yes, I now want you to fix the findings and update the code respectively. So we'll be able to launch that now. So one thing that I want to test just briefly is like, let's go over and let's actually launch let's launch localhost here and let's go into the BridgeMind UI, right? Let's go over here and hold on. I think there were some updates being made, so we may have to kill our terminal real quick. Let's go over here and where is it? Let's see here. It is, let's go here and let's just do that. Okay, so we're gonna restart this real quick and we're gonna go back. Okay, look at this. This is not good. And okay, there we go. All right. So you can see our homepage here, and let's just try a brief UI fix, right? And look at this. So this is this agent here, and it's making updates. Let's go over to BridgeSpace real quick. So it's this agent, and it's actually asking high impact only recommend. Okay, what agent is causing all these UI issues that we're experiencing? So let's see. Let's go back over here, and let's just drop this issue, and let's have an agent fix that real quick. I want you to fix this error that I'm getting in the BridgeMind UI. So let's BridgeMind. Okay, and that's why we're going to need to set up a dictionary for Bridge Voice. So speaking of which, let's actually pull up Bridge Voice real quick. And we are going to have to solve a couple issues here. So we are having a storage error here. So what I want to do is I'm going to work with Codex 5.3, and I'm actually going to drop in. And this is a great strategy, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with Codex 5.3, and I'm going to have it write a handoff prompt. I want you to write a handoff prompt to Claude Opus 4.6. And just so you guys know, yesterday was one of the craziest days that we've had in AI. Probably like to this point, we had 2 frontier models drop. Now, the only caveat to that I would say is that like if you go back to the benchmarks, this was not the same improvement that we saw from like Opus 4.1 to Opus 4.5. So even though we did get 2 new frontier models, to me, it seems like these models were not that much of a jump. They were like a small iteration that are definitely going to be better, but not the same jump that we saw in improvement from like 5.1 to 5.2, or like you can see here, Opus 4.1 to Opus 4.5, right? So it's a little bit of a different situation than what we had. But what we're going to do now is we're actually going to drop in this handoff prompt to Opus 4.6, okay? So we're going to drop this in, and we're going to give this handoff prompt to Opus 4.6, and we're going to have Opus 4.6 do this. So it says you're taking over a debugging task, and it has this. And now we're going to go back over, and let's just use Warp here, and we're going to drop in, we're going to do Claude, and I'm going to let you guys look at this prompt. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to change this, and I'm going to change the model, and I'm going to do high effort on this because this is a little bit more of a complex debugging task. So I'm going to drop in the handoff from Codex 5.3. I'm going to give it here. And this is a good strategy because Codex does think for longer. And what a lot of people say is it's like, hey, you can have Codex instances that are running for up to like an hour very, very easily. Like you'll have Codex instances that are running for very, very long times. And, something to really understand is that, hey, like you definitely want to know that like when do I enact and when do I enable Codex versus this, right? It's like very important to know that. So let's see if we can refresh this page. I think that there's an issue somewhere on my computer where I'm running this. Okay, I do see it. So let me cancel out of this, and then let's launch this again. And let's go over to Warp, and we're gonna just restart the server real quick because it was having a cache issue. So let's pull this back up, and let's launch localhost, and there we go. Okay, so here's our front end, right? And what I want to try is I just want to try a simple UI test. So this here, code at the speed of thought, this is a little bit outdated at this point. So I'm going to drop in this instance right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Warp. I'm going to take this and hold on here. Did this prompt not submit? Do you guys see this? Hold on. This one that we had here, did this not submit? What happened here? We had it, didn't we? Oh, it didn't. Did this not submit? I don't know if you guys see that, but for some reason it didn't submit my prompt. I'm not sure why. Okay, let's try this again then. All right, you're taking over. All right, let's try this, and let's submit. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's launch Claude here, and we're gonna see if we can update the styling of that section as well inside of our website. So let's drop in this section here, and let's just say, I need you to review this section on the home page of the BridgeMind UI, and what I need you to do is I need you to update it with a completely different component and looking section focused more on different particular products in the BridgeMind suite. I want you to focus on the BridgeMind MCP. I want you to focus on Bridge Code. I want you to focus on Bridge Space, and I want you to focus on Bridge Voice. And there should be some information and some nice unique components and graphics for each of these products, but this component can be removed and replaced with 4 different components covering each separate product. Okay, so what I'm going to also do, I'm going to submit this prompt, but I also want to go back over to Bridge Space here, and you can see this team. And what I want to highlight here out of this team is that it's been working for the past 5 minutes and 58 seconds. And what I want to show you guys is with these teams, they're able to work together and message each other, right? So you can see that this one was where we launched that team. And you can see auth audit, exposure auditor, and it's running these different API teammates, right? So it's security agents that are all running. And you can see that this one, BizLogic auditor, right? This one is doing that particular task. So what's interesting about these agent teams is that each of these teammates is like highly specified for a particular action, right? So, we had another team that was code quality fix, which was basically just focused on making it so that there's no AI slop, right? So we can go and we can for example, let's just add the BridgeMind API, and let's say that we want to enact this team, right? So this here, I want to say, I want you to enact the code quality fix team that will do a thorough review of the BridgeMind API and identify any areas where the code quality needs to be fixed and updated. Do not update any code, but compile all the findings from this team into a README file with different tasks and instructions of why it needs to be fixed, why the code quality is bad, and how to fix it, and make sure that the changes in the instructions will not break any of the functionality. So again, I'm using Bridge Voice for that. It's a very, very good text-to-speech tool. We're going to have that launching probably next week. This agent is now done. So this was the sub-agents, right? So this one was launching sub-agents, which are differently, right? That's where the agent communicates with, where each sub-agent communicates with the main agent. Whereas this team, so it says to recap what was delivered. So it says all done. The security team has been fully shut down and cleaned up. To recap what was delivered, 3 auditors ran in parallel across the entire BridgeMind API codebase. 23 findings documented, 0 critical, 5 high, 10 medium, 8 low. All findings consolidated into this README with security levels, severity levels, affected files, descriptions, recommended fixes, and OWASP categories. So it then says the file is ready for your team to review and start working through the remediation priorities. Great work. I now need you to launch the team once again to actually start working through and updating the code respectively and complete all of the updates so that there are no more security vulnerabilities based off of the findings. Okay. One issue that just happened is one of these agents did just make an update to Bridge Voice, so it just opened up and closed. So let's just hold on here. I need to fix this. And this is the issue that we're having with Bridge Voice right now. This is Bridge Voice. It's great. It did just relaunch, so hold on. Let's give that prompt again. I now want you to launch the agent team to actually start working through the remediation priorities and updating the code. Make sure that each is updated correctly without impacting or breaking functionality, and that we solve the vulnerability without breaking code. The code that it writes needs to not be AI slop, be clear, concise, and well written. And once again, the most important thing is that we fix the security vulnerabilities without breaking functionality. Now I want you to launch the team again to update the code and solve and fix the priorities in the vulnerabilities. So we'll launch this, we'll submit this prompt, and this is once again going to restart that team. Now, I did say that there was one caveat with the teams, right? And the caveat is if we go to our usage here, what you guys are going to see with our usage, and I guess this is one thing, I mean, look at, so this is here, right? I haven't really used that much. I haven't launched agents on that many tasks, right? But what I want you guys to take very close note of is the 22% used. So the reason that this is at 22% is because of the teams that we've been enacting. Like literally yesterday when I was using teams, one of the teams ran through over 500,000 tokens inside of one task that I gave it. So like one thing to note is that if you are using agent teams, you are going to be burning through tokens, especially with Opus 4.6. Now, one thing that I will say to that is that you could use this with like Haiku 4.5, or you could use it with Claude Sonnet 4.5. You know, obviously the coding capabilities are going to drop a ton, but here's what I will say with that. Once we get Claude Sonnet 5, this is going to be incredibly more useful. Right now, you know, we're using agent teams and we're using it with incredibly expensive models, right? Like if we go back to Opus 4.6, you know, look at the cost, right? It's expensive. It's $5 per input, $25 per million on the output, and $10 per thousand on a web search. Like it's expensive. So like we have to be at the point where it's like, okay, we want to use this feature, but you also have to know that you're going to be going through insane amounts of token usage with this feature, right? Like this team is launching as well, and I don't know how many tokens this one is going to run through, but yesterday I had one agent team that went through that, right? And it literally went through it went through 500,000 tokens, right? Inside of one task that I gave it. So that's like unbelievable. Let's go back over to this agent here. So this agent looks like it's done. It finished inside of 2 minutes and 53 seconds. Also, this one did run as well. So let's see if our agent, it looks like it potentially did. It says sign in with credentials. So let's see if it was able to fix our issue that we had. This one ran for what, 5 minutes? And it did. Oh, wow. Okay. So guys, that's actually huge. So the issue that we had here is that before the stream, but not the stream, before I started with this video, that actually was not working. And what I did is I had GPT 5.3 review what was actually causing that issue, right? Because signing in was not working. So this is the Bridge Voice dashboard. So I can see, for example, like some of my recent activities. Here's the prompts that I've been giving it in this session. You can see the total words that I've spoken to it, speaking time, sessions, and words per minute. So very useful here. This is also where I set like my shortcuts and whatnot, and where I can manage my subscription. But here's my history. But it was able to one-shot this. I gave it to 5.3 first, and then I had it handed off to Opus 4.6, and Opus 4.6 was actually able to implement it fairly quickly. Like that is one thing that you should take very close note of, is that, hey, you know, Codex 5.3 is going to run for longer, but Opus 4.6 is going to run shorter, and it's probably going to do a pretty good job. So the next task, this was that UI update. Let's see how it actually did on that UI update. So it says, okay, perfect. So it removed that task, right? And what I wanted to do is I wanted to like basically remove that particular component that was there previously, and then update it with different sections about each product in the suite of vibe coding tools that we're building. So you can see here, BridgeMind MCP. This is perfect. Get started with the MCP. That looks nice. Ship from your terminal, bridge code, that looks good. We'll have to make some updates, but it also just, yeah, this did a really good job. There's going to be a couple things that we're going to want to change with this, but this actually did, look at this. It even did like a little SVG background for Bridge Voice. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, the backgrounds did really nice. It was able to know like the different colors and themes that we're using for each of these products. So that actually did a really good job on the UI. I would say very, very good job here. Let's try another one. How long is this video? I don't want to, okay, we're at 21 minutes, at least on this session. So I don't want this video to get too long. I'll try and cap it at 30 minutes here, but let's like see, how is this one doing, this team here? So 2 agents still working. I'll report when they finished. So I will say this, just to summarize, because I don't want the video to get too long, I will be streaming today for day 128 of Vibe Coding an App until I make $1 million. But this Teams feature is actually a game changer. It's just that it may not actually be applicatory until we get some cheaper models that are better in SWE bench but are cheaper than Opus 4.6, right? Like Opus 4.6, you're just going to be spending through your usage a ton. Like even if we go back to that usage, like did our usage go up because that team's running? Let's check it out. Yeah, 27%. So another 5% and it was used on this session just from these teams running, right? Like this one's running, this one running, and it went up to another 5%, right? So if you're running these teams, you're just going to max out your usage like very, very quickly. So I think that this feature is incredible. Again, the difference is substantial with teammates and agents being able to message each other. This is a game changer. You will get better results if you're using Teams, but right now it doesn't really seem very applicatory because, hey, you're running it with models that are just too expensive. So until we get models that are cheaper, like a Claude Sonnet 5, we're not really going to be able to get like a ton of use out of this because, you know, I'm on the 20x plan. If you're on the 5x plan, you would already have maxed out your usage for a 5-hour period. Just from running these two teams, right? So it just doesn't really make sense for your average user, right? So definitely something to take note of. But it did do a great job on the UI. It fixed our issue here that we were having with Bridge Voice. The teams were running and cleaning up the code. But this is like the thing that's interesting about these teammates. So it sends messages. So it does this send message that you're seeing. That's what you're seeing. The teammates talk to each other. So this is incredible. I don't think that this model is like a game changer in terms of the coding performance just because of, hey, like this was not the same jump that we saw from 4.1 to 4.5. But with that being said, like I think that we're going to see a jump once the Sonnet 5 model releases. This is a model that's been rumored. I think that Sonnet 5 is probably going to be a game changer. Whereas with this model, it's definitely a iteration. There's some improvements in other parts of the benchmarks. It is going to be a better model. Like you obviously would be wanting to use Opus 4.6 over 4.5. But in when you look at the coding index, I don't think that we're going to see like massive improvements in the coding quality. But we'll see with time. I think we need to give it a little bit more time. But with that being said, guys, I'm gonna wrap up the video here. I don't want to get it to get too long, but Opus 4.6. I'm impressed what they did with some of the different features, and I'm super excited about agent teams. I'm very excited to be using this model in my streams, and I also will be having a review of 5.3 Codex. I did upgrade to the ChatGPT Pro plan, so I'm going to be using that model in the streams as well. But with that being said, guys, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, make sure you do so. Join the Discord, the fastest growing vibe coding community on the internet right now. There's a link in the description below. And with that being said, guys, I will see you guys in the future.